Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. This is optibotimus coming at you with another video review. And on today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the new Transformers Titans Return Voyager class Astrotrain with Dark Moon. Now, before I go on with the rest of this video, I gotta give a huge shout out to Greg Monroe of the Transformers Collecting, Trading, Buying, and Selling group over on Facebook. Greg went above and beyond to get this figure for me. He's a fairly local guy that I bought it from, and then the post office screwed everything up, and instead of something taking a day to get here, they ended up shipping it all the way to Rhode Island. So what Greg decided to do was say, hey, Paul, why don't you come over to my work? I live about an hour from you, but I only work about 25 minutes away. So why don't you stop by during lunch, and I'll replace those figures, and then when the other ones finally show up, you can send them back to me, and I won't charge you anything extra for getting these ones right now. That was an amazing thing that he did that he absolutely didn't have to do. So again, Greg, thank you so much. I don't know if you watch my videos, but hopefully you do. And hopefully some of you guys over at the Transformers Collecting, Buying, Trading, and Selling group will, maybe see this. And he's a very active seller over on that group. So maybe give him some extra business or something just for helping me out. But for the package, as you can see, you got a really nice image here with, well, Dark Moon coming off. Again, the Headmaster gimmick is alive and well here, even with Astrotrain, but regardless if you like that gimmick or not, this is still a really, very cool looking figure. You got the nice Transformers logo right there. On the back of the package, you got that cross-play pattern where you can take, Dark Mount, and if you wanted to, you could put them on Wolfwire or Alpha Trion, or even take Ape Face and put them here on Astrotrain. All the new Titans Master figures can interchange and be used on any of these class figures, which is really very fun and cool. Then you can see he transforms in 11 steps, and as you can tell, he is a repaint of Sentinel Prime. Obviously, though, with a different head. And then it says, the Decepticons unite with Titan Master partners to power up for battle. Astrotrain uses the cloaking ability of Dark Moon to travel behind enemy lines without being detected. So yeah, whatever, Dark Moon, yeah, there it is. But for the packaging on this guy, that's about it for him. So without further ado, let's get this guy out here and see how cool he actually is. Alright guys, so here we have Astrotrain opened up and out of its packaging. And as I said, this is basically just a straight up repaint of the Sentinel Prime figure. So in terms of all the details and molding and everything, it is exactly the same. The only thing that's different, obviously, is the color. Now for his accessories, first up, he does come with the same guns. You got the little kind of riding cannon that Dark Moon can sit onto. You also have the little gun here. Unfortunately, the only one that I have out for Sentinel Prime is the San Diego Comic-Con version, so it's going to have that clear, loose, and little plastic. But molding-wise is the exact same. You can see that the gun, that exact same, and then you got, like I said, that little riding one, which is also the exact same. But real nice molded detail on here nonetheless. You can still take this and you can put it there if you want to. Like I said, you can have Dark Moon right in there. You can put it there if you want to, and you can bring this around. You can peg it on the side there. You got different holes throughout this entire figure here where you got like pegs right there. You can set it right on that side if you really wanted to. You also got some little peg holes here on the back that I guess you could put that in if you really wanted, or maybe, let's see, we'll put that there and then do that there. So if you wanted to do that, you could. I don't think it really looks all that bad, honestly. You also got some peg holes here at the actual bottom, so you can peg that there, but it does end up sticking out a little bit more, so it's a little bit more precarious when you're trying to do things like get him to just sit there, because now it's resting on the little pegs right there. So it is what it is. You got the little landing gear, you got the little skid plate thing right here on the bottom, you got that piece right here that pops out from the chest, much like the Sentinel Prime did. It just looks a lot better. And bringing in Sentinel, now like I said, this is the San Diego Comic-Con version, so this actually has a little bit better of a paint job than that regular retail one did, but you can see that molding wise is the exact same. The paint detail on Astrotrain just looks so much better. You got a nice black paint with the gray, I'm dropping them for that shuttle kind of look. You got that really nice purple, you got some nice Decepticon logos there, you got his little rear fin here that's nicely painted, kind of this off-white color as well, kind of like gray. You got the guns that are painted nicely. In general, just like I said, a much much better representation, I think. And everybody, the new term is pre-tool, because we got this figure before we got this one. So they're saying this was a pre-tool of the Astrotrain. That's just a made-up word, if you ask me. I mean, these were done at the exact same time, so one was released before the other one. So, I don't know. Like I said, I just think that's a bit of a made-up thing. I don't really get why people are using it too much. But for a G1 comparison, this is the G1 version of Astrotrain that I have. As you can see, it's the original. I want to say that it's like the Diaclone kind of colors, where it was meant to look like an actual, you know, space shuttle. You got the white color with the black and everything like that, and then the train itself is all black. But obviously, you got a really cool look here in the new Titans Return one that does kind of look like a, you know, maybe more modern space shuttle of sorts, with triple changers. And I really don't know of a triple changer that, I'm just going right across there, that hasn't been like this. But you have a triple changer that always has one mode that's pretty weak. This is the classics version of the Astrotrain, and this just never really looked good. Specifically, this is the Henkei version of them. So this is a very old figure by comparison standards to, you know, what we have now. But I mean, come on, this is night and day. I mean, the new version just blows. I mean, even the you know, original, yeah, you know, G1 toy blows this one away. I mean, this one's just really weird looking. But like I said, you know, triple changers, there was always a one mode that was kind of weak. And that is kind of it on this one. This one, I would probably say the weakest mode is the train mode, but that's still not all that bad. You know, I actually think that this looks good. I think that the train mode looks good, like I talked about in my review of Sentinel Prime. It is probably a little bit weaker looking, but it's still a fairly nice transformer just in general. Now, because we have seen the transformation on this before, I am going to go ahead and skip it. But if you do need any help whatsoever with the transformation, my playlist is available, so you can go to that and find the Combiner Wars, you know, Sentinel Prime figure, and you can see the transformation on this guy if you get stuck at any point. But using some of that good old-fashioned optibotimus movie magic, we're going to go from Astrotrain looking like this to looking like this. And, you know, obviously, if you're familiar with Sentinel Prime, you know what you're getting with this guy. But, again, much better paint detail on here. The gray, the purple, the black, all just comes together very, very nicely. The front train section here looks really good. I do kind of wish that the actual tires here were painted silver. That's probably something that I can throw on there, but otherwise, I really don't think that this is honestly all that bad. Again, you know, for some comparisons, obviously here's the G1 Astrotrain, but again, it is in the colors that make it a little bit more realistic, and obviously that looks more like a train. And honestly, in terms of, like I was talking about, triple changers always having one weak mode, the one exception really was the G1 version. I mean, this kind of nailed it on all aspects. But other than that, you know, almost every other one was just kind of weak. Here's the classics one, and it's kind of got like this bullet train sort of thing, and then I don't know what's going on back here. That's just strange. But I mean, again, just a huge improvement. I really do think. I love the kind of battle sort of look that this one has. You know, it's got the front, it's got the back that, you know, obviously a train's going to be able to go kind of both ways, up and down a track. I like even how the wings just kind of like wrap around here and give it a, like I said, kind of battle station sort of look. You got the cannons here in the top. You do have the top section right here that opens up. You can see it's a purple, a clear lucent piece. And then on the inside here is Dark Moon. Now, obviously, he body-wise is a retool. I'm looking here. Yeah, it is just a repaint of the Sentinel Prime one, but transforming it, you can see you got a different head. You got like this Optimus Prime looking head, and then obviously you have a very Astrotrain looking head here. So yeah, the only remolded part really comes in the Dark Moon figure with the actual Astrotrain head. For his articulation though, you got that same ball joint. You got the little tiny ball joints at the shoulders. You can move them forward and back, in and out. He doesn't have the pinned in hips, but they are fairly solid in terms of the swivel, and then you do have the pin here for the actual knee itself. So again, yeah, just take him and you can put him there. You can close that and you can have that if you want to, or like I was showing you, you got the little gun thing right here. You can have him sit on there. You can have that little bit right there. And then again, with the whole, you know, the battle sort of thing, you can put that on the side. It is a little bit loose. I mean, obviously, well, a lot loose. It's just going to flop down. So let's see. Are there other holes? Where are the other holes? Or maybe it pegs in good on that side. No, that doesn't really peg in good there either. So you can, yeah, so that does kind of stink, I guess. But maybe here, I guess you could kind of put it sort of on an angle there. So that does kind of stink. You can't really do too much with that. Well, I mean, that sits in there very securely, so you can ride on it sideways and, you know, have a good time. So getting that out of the way, and then again, for the comparison, this is the San Diego Comic-Con version of Sentinel Prime in the actual train mode. Again, it had a really good paint scheme, I think, on this, with the actual tires here being painted yellow across the whole thing. That looks really cool. And then obviously it's got the kind of orange clear lucent plastic throughout the entire thing, but it is basically the exact same figure. You just got some different coloring and some different levels of opaqueness with the plastic, but it you know, still has a really cool solid look to it. As a triple changer, they usually have a weak one, and this is probably the weakest, but I still think it looks pretty good. You got the little wheel right here in the middle, you got bigger wheels on the outside. It doesn't really roll too well on my table because it's, you know, a little bit uneven and everything, but it does actually roll fairly decently. But yeah, I do like this guy. So again, now because we have seen the transformation on this a couple times already, I will skip it. But once again, if you need any help whatsoever with the transformation, my playlist with my review of the Titans Return Sentinel Prime is available to you. So if you need any help, check that out. But that being said, we're going to go from Astrotrain looking like this to looking like this. And obviously one final thing to do, you got Dark Moon here. You just transform him by folding his legs around, and then you take him and you plug him into that little section right at the top. And then for one final little piece, you take this little button, you kind of pull this forward, and these little pieces on the side pop up, just kind of recreating and completing that look that really the original kind of character actually had. And there you have Astrotrain fully assembled, and he really does look terrific. Now obviously this was the intended purpose of this mold, and then they were able to take and, you know, repaint it and everything and put a different head on there to make Sentinel Prime. But you can totally tell that this is the intended purpose of it, much like what we recently saw with, you know, the upcoming Titans Return Megatron, which is a triple changer that transforms into a tank and a jet, which clearly looks like the intended purpose of that is Blitzwing. And I guess that's where, you know, people got the whole pre-tool thing, because we got Sentinel Prime before we got this guy, but, and honestly, you know, they're done at the same time. So, I mean, we just got one before the other, but this guy really does look absolutely terrific. Again, now doing some comparisons, he's with that white version of the G1 toy, and again, he doesn't look how he looked in the cartoon, but you can definitely see what they were kind of going for in terms of recreating that character. You even got these little, you know, wheel things here that are on the back that in the cartoon were on the side of his head, which is where these little pieces come in very handy, and why I use them for him and why I don't use them for Sentinel Prime. It just looks much better than it on Sentinel. And then the classics one. Again, everybody talks about how one mold usually suffers. All of them weren't very good on this guy. Obviously, you can see that he was a deluxe. This being a Voyager just kind of works so much better, you know, when fitting in that triple changer kind of gimmick. But he just has a much better sort of look to that character that I know and love. Now, it's not to say that this figure was terrible, and for the longest time this is what was in my classics display, but I'm very happy that I can replace him now with this guy. And then for a final comparison, here he is next to that Sentinel Prime. Again, this is the SDCC version. One thing that I will say though is that even though that this is the third technical version that we've gotten for this mold, the joints are probably the best on any that I have gotten. This one was, I mean, you remember, was just a really big floppy mess. When it comes to this guy, it's still a little bit floppy, but it actually is a whole lot more solid. I mean, this, you know, you would move this out of the way. This just flops down. You wiggle it and it just completely would flop, as you can see. The knees were actually really loose on it as well. You can hear very weak joints. The ones going out weren't too bad, but very weak ratchet joints here. With the new one, getting the arms out of the way, very nice ratchet joints. The knees here are actually really nice and solid. As you can see, the ratchet joints on both sides are really very good, and then the knees here really very solid. So like I said, the joints on this one much better than even the original Sentinel Prime figure that I got. I'm definitely happy to see that that improves, and hopefully that's something that is indicative of all the new Astrotrain figures that are coming out. Now, like I was saying, you do have the little sections here as well, but for me, I just, you know, leaving that up, I just didn't care too much for it. I liked actually leaving those down and then keeping the wings kind of folded back. It gives them a little bit different of a look and doesn't look as much like Astrotrain. I think this just looks a lot cooler and obviously fits with what you're trying to do. Yeah, and that's recreate an Astrotrain character. Now for his articulation, it does get a little bit limited because of these, but the cool thing is, if you remember, that entire section on the inside rotates, so you can have him kind of looking that far that way, then you can rotate this over, turn his head a little, and you can get a much further range of motion. So this little piece rotating actually gives a lot of range of motion with it, which does help out because you can't get a lot because of these pieces right here. Now if you lower that down, obviously you can get them looking all the way to the side, but you know, like I said, it gives a better kind of Astrotrain-y sort of look. The shoulders here rotate forward and back. They're on just little swivels. You got a little hinge here for the outer motion, so you got two different joints right there. He rotates at the upper part of the bicep. He bends here at the elbow itself. The wrists can move in. They're not really meant to. When you pull them out, you're supposed to lock them into place, so you don't really get too much range of motion with those, but you can kind of do it. He unfortunately doesn't have any waist articulation because of the way that the whole section is designed. But again, I mean, great detail on here. You got like the pistons on the inside here, which look great. Molding wise, all looks really good. All this extra paint really pulls out a lot of that detail. I mean, I'm sure that some customizers can make it even look better, but for a retail toy, I think he looks great. He's got those ratchet joints moving forward and back. They move in and out right at the midpoint of the thigh. He's got a little rotation, so you can rotate that around. Bends here at the knee, and then the actual foot also can pivot a little bit. You get a little range of motion. Not a heck of a lot, but it can actually do some. It doesn't tilt in or out or anything like that, but in general, great figure. I really knew I was going to like and look forward to Astrotrain when I got a hold of, you know, Sentinel, and I have not been disappointed. This figure turned out wonderfully. It just, you know, fits the character so well. You know, if you can only get one of these particular molds, this is definitely the one that I would pick. Astrotrain is just, you know, a more prominent character in Transformers than Sentinel Prime, at least for me, so I would absolutely recommend picking up him over that Sentinel Prime, but neither figure are really bad. I think the looks on this one just are a little bit better, and then obviously on my copy, you know, the joints are much better, so that's really cool. But I love him. I cannot recommend this guy enough to you guys. If you see him in stores, pick him up. If you remember that Transformers Facebook group that I talked about, like I said, hit up Greg Monroe. I think he's got a couple of these. As right now, they are starting to hit various retail locations in very small quantities right now. Or if that's not an option for you, there's always Big Bad Toy Store. So all you have to do for that is click on the link down in the video description. You'll go to BBTS, where you can check out availability on this guy, as well as the rest of the new Transformers Titans Return figures. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. So once again, I want to thank you for tuning in. This has been Optibotimus. Don't forget that if you like this video, to please like and share it. Also be sure to subscribe in case you haven't already subscribed. That way you never miss a future review of mine. And as always, until next time, I'll talk to you later. You're at your best when the going gets rough.